Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Wonder Librarian here, and I'm back to talk about one of my most favorite topics, which is MuppetVision, of course. MuppetVision 3D at Disney's Hollywood Studios, formerly MGM. So, there's been a great heartbreak and tragedy in that they've announced, as of November 2024, that MuppetVision will inevitably be closing to make way for Monsters, Inc. Yes. So, in order to process my grief over that, seeing as MuppetVision has been in my life since 1992 when I first saw it in person on a family trip, April 1992, a year after it just opened. It did open May 16, 1991. Brian Henson and the Henson family were there, just so you know. It was really cool. So, what I've decided to do is not only spend as much time going on MuppetVision as possible with my husband and friends, but also to talk a lot about the evolution of the entire Muppet Courtyard, MuppetVision itself, and everything that it's gone through in all these 34 beautiful years that it brought us so much joy. So I've done a lot of research on it and some deep diving and everything. So what I'm actually going to do is start with a little bit of the history of the Courtyard and take you through all of the changes that have happened. And then we'll talk about where it's going and what's going to happen inevitably and all the things that we've heard lately. So without further ado, me and Kermit, and he's got his MuppetVision glasses on as well. We actually got given these by a cast member because we like to do impressions of all the Muppets on the ride. So a nice cast member gave us these the one time, so now I realize that they're a beautiful relic and I'm never going to get rid of them. So we're going to take you through a history of MuppetVision, what the concepts were. I'm sure many of you know that there was a lot of other plans first for the ride and the land before Jim Henson unfortunately passed away in May of 1990 before anything really opened. So we'll go ahead and talk about that. And we'll talk about all the evolutions throughout the years, including things like Pizza Rizzo, the fountain, the courtyard itself, and MuppetVision itself. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here's our concept drawing. So these were shared by Imagineering, I believe it was in the last couple of years, but this is originally the Muppet Studios land that we were going to get before Jim Henson passed away. So you can see MuppetVision is still there. It still has the balloon right beside it. The fountain is also there in kind of its original incantation with all the Muppets in there and whatnot. Fozzie is greeting you. I think that's pretty cool. They did end up having life-size Muppets at one point, which I thought was amazing. And then we see some of the things that never came to be. So it looks like there was a Muppet Tower in the background there. Stage 1, I don't know if there was a different intention or if it was always meant to be a store. And I had a little trouble figuring out what went on there this entire time, but I do have some evidence to present. To the left there is the Swedish Chef's video cooking school and restaurant, which I think was a bigger version of the Gonzos Pandemonium Pizza Parlor, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which was going to be a really cool restaurant that had rats basically unicycling on the rafters, Italian themed, kind of like a little bit of Muppets Take Manhattan kind of vibe. And then Swedish Chef was going to be preparing the dishes on TV. It was going to be so cool. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about that and, you know, the foundations of it. Mama Melrose, show some video. It's going to be really awesome. And then I believe that building to the left was meant to be a pickle factory. So it did end up being a bathroom. I don't really know what their intention was there, but pretty cool. All very Muppety. And then I also heard at one point that New Zealand was going to have a small fish market, so you could hear him like throwing his fish and stuff. I think that was going to be somewhere near the Gonzos Pandemonium Pizza Parlor, so that's another thing that got cut. So these are all the things that I know about that were going to be there. And not shown in this drawing is the Muppet movie ride, which we'll talk about, which is basically, as Jim Henson described it, every way that you don't make a movie. So basically the Muppets trying to make a movie and failing, which would have been amazing. I'm assuming it would have been sort of like a dark ride like the Great Movie Ride ended up being, but it's okay. We still have the concept drawings. So let's go ahead and move forward and talk about that. So yeah, here's the photo of Gonzo's Pandemonium Pizza Parlor. So as you can see, they do have the rats on the unicycles. They're carrying sandwiches and stuff. I'm assuming these weren't people's actual food, but more just there for amusement. And you can see the TVs, and there is some fish on the wall, which I think is supposed to be that nod to New Zealand like I was talking about. And the Swedish Chef was going to be on there, and he was going to be, you know, making your dinner and inevitably screwing it up, that sort of thing. So that's why they had so many TVs in place. So what did end up happening, I will show this little scroll of, so Mama Melrose opened in 1992. And I guess the idea was there, so when they had to retheme all of the Muppet Courtyard, which was going to be all Muppets and nothing New Yorky whatsoever, when Jim died, they had to say, okay, how do we fit this in now? So they basically just declared it a part of Streets of America. So Mama Melrose was kind of like, you know, an Italian lady that had a restaurant. So that did open in 1992. But what you will see in this video is that those rafters were built to the specifications to have the rats unicycling on them. So that didn't change. A lot of the brickwork, the clocks, some of the stuff on the walls, the TVs, the glass lights, those all got installed. So they basically just took the shell of what was going to be Gonzo's Pandemonium Pizza Parlor and adapted it to be Mama Melrose. So my husband and I went there in December 2024 to sample it, and as you can see, the rat rafters are very much in place there. Some of the stuff on the walls, the lighting, all that stayed the same. So it was kind of like going to Gonzo's Pandemonium Pizza Parlor without the rats and with Mama Melrose as the person in charge instead. So no idea when that's going to close. I've softly heard that maybe it could be April, but not sure on that. But I do know that that is going to be replaced with the Monsters Inc. sushi restaurant, which is a nice substitution, but I will miss this restaurant for sure. Okay, so then this is the concept drawings for the Muppets movie ride. So like I was saying before, so there is an area not shown in the concept drawing, but basically MuppetVision is kind of, you come in and it's to the right. If you go to the very back behind stage one, behind the facades, there's kind of these doors that open, and that's where they had Swine and Roses, which I'll talk about again in a little bit. But I'm guessing that was where that ride was going to be. I don't think they really got started on it aside from these concept drawings. So you can see the scenes there. So it looks like they're filming some kind of adventure movie. The rats are doing the lighting. Scooter's trying to use the camera on a pulley. Things aren't going very well. People are falling off of boats. Kermit looks like he's about to take a dive there. So you can see Jim's concept coming to life. There's also a Frankenstein scene that has Beaker as Frankenstein and Bunsen as the scientist. Also going very poorly. They're trying to film it. Not going very well. It looks like Fozzie's electrocuting himself back there. That would have been fun to see. And then there's some kind of a Peter Pan scene. So it looks like Kermit is Peter and everybody's flying around, but again, total pandemonium, not working very well. And apparently another cool thing is that Statler and Waldorf would also accompany you and make comments as the scenes are going poorly. So we missed out on a really awesome thing. I'm really sad that it never came to be, but it's nice to know that we have all these drawings to look back on. So now that we've talked about all the things that didn't come to be, here's what MuppetVision ended up being. So it opened on, like I said, May 16th, 1991, which was ironically a year after Jim Henson passed away. So to pay tribute to him, it did have that cool balloon on the top. It stayed there for a long time. It had an extended queue at the beginning, which we definitely don't have anymore. So that was to the right of the ride. It's that wall that you see along there. And I'll show you when we flash to MuppetVision now that it's not there, but there are some remnants of it still. And Broadway plumbing, you can kind of see that in the photo a little bit. That is what the pickle factory ended up being. And I guess the idea was it's just going to be a New York sort of vibe. And that ended up being the bathroom. So it kind of became part of the Streets of America. So no more pickle factory, a bathroom instead. Like I said, Gonzo's restaurant and the Muppet movie ride were scrapped. So what we did get instead was Here Come the Muppets, which was a Muppet live show with full-size Muppet costumes. I'll show a picture for a second here. That was in the Little Mermaid Theater. Jim did actually record lines for that and train the Muppet performers. And MuppetVision was, these are two parts of phase one. Unfortunately, Gonzo's restaurant and the Muppet movie ride were phase two, so they were nowhere near completion. They were only just starting on the pizza parlor. So that's why we ended up with Here Come the Muppets, which did debut in 1990, I believe. So right before Jim passed away. And then MuppetVision, which was almost completed by the time Jim died, but then had to be completed by Frank Oz and company. And there's an interesting fact there that I read that they offered Frank Oz $50,000 to finish the project, and he said he didn't want it. And then they said, well, what is it that you do need? And he said, I'd like some socks. And then they gave him socks, and that's why he finished it. But amazing. Turned out beautiful. I'm glad we got to save this one part. It's Jim Henson's last project. And there it is, back in 1991. And here's just a little shot of the back area. So when you come out of MuppetVision, you essentially go straight. You'll see Mama Melrose right there. So I guess the idea was like, hey, you go on MuppetVision, maybe you'll hit the Muppet movie ride along the way, you know, bigger ticket ride, and then you go for dinner at this place. So you kind of have a whole Muppet experience. But yeah, so Mama Melrose was right there along with those facades. There is some Muppet or person clothes hanging there. They used to be there. I don't think they're there anymore. And then around the corner from this is actually the fire department. So for a while, the fire engine was parked there. I don't know where it is now, but it was parked there briefly in the 90s. And then you'll see on the side there, that's the Stage 1 store. And these are some people that are just coming out of the ride, obviously. So that's what that ended up being. And these days they have Santa greetings in one of the storefronts there. I've seen them during Jollywood time, during Christmas. It's pretty cool that they're using that. Okay, and so then we follow along so we can see the fire engine, or sorry, the fire station at the back there. And the other half of the facade. And then that along the side is the Metropolitan Department of Water and Power, I believe. So instead of it being Swedish Chef's Video Cooking School, it became like an industrial building, which is fine. And what they ended up doing was putting in some rotating exhibits as part of the studio showcase. So you'd go and do the studio backlot tour back in the day, and you'd go in there and then they'd have some extra props and stuff. So it looks like they have a plane actually sitting out in the front. I do remember doing this when I was a kid. From 1991 to 1992, they did that. And I saw the Muppet Christmas Carol things, which absolutely blew my mind. I thought it was so amazing to see props from an actual movie. And I didn't realize at the time that that was the first movie that Brian Henson actually did after his dad passed away. It was completely on him to do that after he took over the company. And I love that movie. I watch it every year. So seeing those props meant a lot to me as a kid, and I do remember them being housed there. And I was sad when they left. But what ended up happening is that they did eventually want to turn that into a restaurant. I guess it had all the shell of being one. So Mama Melrose opened in 1992, and then of course I think it was an arcade briefly for a couple of years, and then it did become Pizza Planet, which I'll show you soon. So we're here at Muppet's Courtyard, Kermit, myself, and my husband, and we're talking about all the history of the Muppet Courtyard buildings, since we know it's now closing June the 7th. So right behind us here is Gonzos Royal Flush, which is a bathroom. This was renovated in 2016 as part of the Grant Avenue renovation, based on the 2011 movie where Gonzo was a plumber, which was a tribute to the 1978 Muppet movie where he was also a plumber. So that's what this is about. It's a real location in LA, that's why they decided to change it to this. And originally in the concept drawing it was called the Pickle Factory, which I don't think ever came to be. And then for a long time, I'll show some pictures here, it was called Broadway Plumbing. So it was always a bathroom as far as I know, and that's the first location we're going to cover. So now we're here in front of the Muppets fountain, the centerpiece of Muppet Courtyard, and I love it. It's got Miss Piggy in there right now and some rats fishing around for coins, of course, but back in the day, and this is something that's probably changed the least out of anything here, it used to have many more Muppets in it, which have since been removed. We had Gonzo, we had Fozzie, we had Animal, and they were all in there. So I think this got renovated in around 2016 when they just left Piggy in there. It's been refurbished a few times. Don't know where the other Muppets went. I miss them. That Muppets fountain. So one of the most amazing parts of the Muppets Courtyard is Pizza Rizzo that's right here behind me. So it was modified to be Pizza Rizzo in 2016. There's lots of really great artifacts in there, lots of beautiful Rizzo details, Muppet details. So I'll show some pictures of that and talk a little bit more about that later. But let's talk about the history right now. So originally that was going to be Swedish Chef's Video Cooking School, part of the Mama Melrose thing with the rats and the rafters and all that cool stuff. They had to real quick change that idea. So between, say, 91 to 93, it was part of the backlot tour. So they had a whole bunch of props in there, including Muppet Christmas Carol, including some Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So that was really cool. I remember seeing that when I came here. Really awesome. And then for a couple of years, it became an arcade, just a real short time. And then eventually, as Toy Story became more popular in 1994 when it came out, it was Pizza Planet for a very long time. So I'll show more pictures of the interior of that. We'll talk a little bit more about Pizza Rizzo, but that's basically the last update that it had. Until Pizza Rizzo in 2016, it's been that ever since. So we love the pizza here, we love going in there, we love all the detail. It's really sad to say goodbye to Pizza Rizzo, but we love it. So we're here at Stage 1 Company Store right beside MuppetVision 3D. So you come off the ride and you go see your Muppet merch. It's really cool. So over the years, there's been some changes. So they definitely did a new paint job because back when Swine and Roses was here between 91 and 94, you could see this in the background of the shots, it was completely blank. There was none of that fun Muppet paint, so obviously they came and did some graffitiing at some point. But yeah, in there was lots of nods to Muppet movies. So the Muppet movie itself, Muppets Take Manhattan, even Muppet Babies. The Electric Mayhem were in there. That was from the original Here Come the Muppets show that they had all the way across the park where Little Mermaid is now. So lots of cool little Easter eggs in there. It did close in 2020 for the pandemic, and I don't think it ever reopened. Kermit was from there. I got him in 2019, and luckily, he's amazing. So the most recent usage of Stage 1 Company Store, which is really great, they've been using it for May the 4th to put merchandise in here for Star Wars. So we've been going in every year that we can to see all the stuff that's in there. And they opened it for Jollywood for a little while. So Muppet Christmas Carol photo ops were in there. They had the Warm and Fuzzy, and they had a cute little snow one, so we did it with our family here, so I'll show the video of that. I was really excited to see them reusing the Muppet Store. I was hoping it was going to lead to more Muppet content, and I guess it will in the future with the Muppet Roller Coaster, but Stage 1 Company Store, always been a Muppet store, always had cool things in it, and we decided to say goodbye to it. So behind us is Mom and Melrose right back there. So we did actually try that out about a month ago, so I'll show some of the footage there. But originally the idea for that one was going to be the rat restaurant with the collaboration with the Swedish chef. So all kinds of TV showing the Swedish chef making the dishes and then the rats delivering them on the unicycles and the rafters. Would have been really cool. Sadly it never opened. But Mom and Melrose came up here in 1992 because it was basically almost done. It was supposed to be phase 1 of the Muppet plan, which included MuppetVision 3D and the Rat Restaurant. Gonzos Pandemonium Pizza Parlor was the full plan. So the backstory ended up being it was part of Street to America. And Mom and Melrose was a lady that came to make it big in Hollywood, and then she ended up, not quite getting her dreams, but she would make delicious Italian food. She decided to open this restaurant instead, have all of her Hollywood friends come there, so that's why you see a lot of Hollywood relics inside there. It was really great food. It's going to close on May the 10th. We can enjoy it until then. So working our way around the Courtyard, we're here at the It's a Wonderful Shop, which actually did open in 1992, and for a long time was open and had stuff in here. So it was mostly Christmas items. We have our snowman that's here all year. And it's been a while since it's been open, but I do know that Santa was here for Christmas during Jollywood time. So it was available. You can go in there and meet Santa for a little while. But this is a really cool thing. I always like to come take pictures of the snowman, and I'm going to miss it. So behind me there's actually a lot of really great history, Muppets and otherwise. So back in 1991 when this had to change completely, Jim Henson had passed away and they had to redesign everything. They had built a theater back there, which eventually opened with Beauty and the Beast as its temporary location, which now is in Theater of the Stars and has been there for a long time. So Muppet, Swine and Roses was here between 1991 and 1994. And then back there a whole bunch of stuff happened. So after Beauty and the Beast left, they had Pocahontas show, they had Hunchback of Notre Dame. I have some recollections of that from when I was a kid. And they also had some Star Wars showings there. They had a Joffrey's all the way back there. And then eventually this scaffolding that's kind of near the top became a character greeting. So before Toy Story Land existed, between 2001 2011, they had a big Alice toy barn back there. So I'll show a picture of that, and that's where the Toy Story greetings happen, right back here. So Buzz, Woody, Jessie, Bullseye, and the Green Army Men would come every so often. And then after that ended, and they made plans to do Toy Story Land, they had Phineas and Ferb back here. So I remember a few months ago even, said apartments for rent. It was like this apartment building. I'll show a picture of that as well. So Phineas and Ferb were here temporarily for a little while until eventually they closed this down permanently in 2016 for the Grand Avenue, and this became a place where people couldn't access anymore. But way back when, if you can imagine it, picture Miss Piggy's trailer over here, picture of a really cool Muppet show with an apartment building complex. And I have a picture of Kermit standing right here at Live Kermit. So during Spawn and Roses, they actually had the full-size Muppets. They'd come out and do character readings. I would have loved to meet them. I don't believe I did back in the day, but just knowing it was here makes me happy. So now here we are at MuppetVision 3D, so I'll run through some of the big changes that happened here throughout the years. So perhaps one of the biggest ones was in the very beginning in the concept drawings, and actually in real life, there was a big yellow balloon right above that Gonzo clock. It stood there for a very long time until they decided to take it down in one of the renovations. At one time, the MuppetVision sign listed Jim Henson's name before Disney bought the Muppets eventually. The Grand Arts Theater was the rebrand of 2016, and then right beside Muppets on the right used to be an extended queue, so you can see right now it's just an awning, but that used to be all filled in. Used to have all the people going down there. There's all kinds of really cool Muppet posters along the way. I'll try to find a few of them to show in the video, but that was the extended queue back in the day. It used to have all the fast pass machines and whatnot for when Muppets was crazy busy back then. In terms of interior, they added some parcels from Gary and Mary from the 2011 Muppet movie. They added Kermit's tuxedo in there from the Muppet movie as well to sort of honor that. In 2009, they added those fun Muppet posters like Spawn, Prawn, right, with Pepe in it, High School Muppet Mayhem, all those kind of posters, so I'll show those as well. And they also had Constantine from Muppet's Most Wanted movie came in and took over the video briefly to promote that movie. And then in 2021, they had a very short Muppets Haunted Mansion promotional video featuring Pepe, and I believe Gonzo is in it too, so I'll show that as well. So those are sort of the interior changes, exterior changes that occurred to MuppetVision in general. There's probably going to be a few more that I'll find and talk about, but here it is back here in all of its current glory, and we'll talk about more about the changes in a little bit. I guess a notable mention as well for the Muppets Courtyard is this ice-cold hydraulics building that's back here. So for a long time it was shrouded in mystery, but there used to be a snack booth right here with Coca-Cola products and whatnot. And in about June 2024, and around that time is when this ice-cold hydraulics opened up. So they do have churros, they do have interesting cinnamon buns with Coca-Cola infused icing we've tried before. So that's the very latest addition to Muppet Courtyard and probably the last one. So that's going to do it for our history of MuppetVision and the Muppet Courtyard in general, all the little changes that we've had over the years from its debut in May 16, 1991, and right up until its closing on June 7, 2025. So Melrose is closing on May 10th, 2025, and MuppetVision and the rest of the Courtyard is going to be June 7, 2025, including Pizza Rizzo and everything. So we will be here that last day. And I just want to say that MuppetVision has been in my life for 34 years. It's been an amazing thing. Anytime I'm ever feeling down or anything, it always lifts me up. It's a beautiful thing. Jim Henson's last project, we love it so much. So we're sad to see it go, but I just want to say a big thank you to MuppetVision 3D for all the wonderful moments and all the memories that we've had over the years. Thank you, MuppetVision 3D. You don't have to go away. You can stay. Anyways, remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you in the future.